All right. Let me share the YouTube link. And, da, 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 da. And let's see.
I need to figure out how to get this.
All right, cool. We're going. So
fancy new Twitter blue check mark.
You have to if you have Twitter Blue. Well, they I mean, it's in flux, right? So there was like a window
Twitter's
of time
in which broken now.
Yeah. There was like a window of time in which you could upgrade your Twitter Blue and get a blue check mark, and now I have no idea what the status is.
Well, the problem is that I didn't do it in that time window, and now they're telling me I have to cancel my old Twitter Blue and then resubscribe because the price point changed. Anyway, looks like I have to wait till the end of November, so we'll see.
Yeah,
I can't be fancy.
Hi guys, we are doing a live stream talking about Talk to the Cosmos community about the veto of Prop 82. So we all worked really hard over the last sort of 6 weeks, and then the preceding 8 months on the Atom 2.0 proposal. It did not get the support of the community, and here we are. So we're just gonna sort of talk about it and sort of impressions going forward. Impressions going forward and so I think the first question is basically, hey, we had a signaling proposal. So Prop 82, if Prop 82 had succeeded, nothing would have happened. And Prop 82 was vetoed and nothing happens. So we're still in the state of nothing happened. Nothing happening, even though there was an enormous amount of energy around it. The question is, it was a signaling proposal. We got a bunch of signal. What did we learn?
Yeah. I think that we learned that signaling proposals are unenforceable. One of the many episodes of giant drama caused by a signaling proposal that signifies something kind of unclear.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people expressed kind of early on that, there was too much in the paper to vote on all at once. And so, but obviously it seems clear that the main concern was around issuance and how that's going to work and what exactly is going to be involved. And that seemed to have generated most of the opposition. So, yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, this is the first. Have we vetoed other proposals before? I think other things have been vetoed.
I think the other things have been vetoed. I think the Cyber Congress one got vetoed.
Is that right?
Yeah. But this is the first contentious veto.
This was a serious, right? Very contentious. Obviously, there was the community was very split on this. Yeah, I mean, it was clear. It was clear. One, you know, I just put out a tweet thread, so I just sort of said that in there that one way or another, like the outcome almost matters less here than the discussion that was generated. And like, you know, if you have 30% voting no with veto, like even if the thing technically passed, like the signal was already there. Like it's the same. We got the same signal, right? Like whether it was 30% and 37%, the signal is the same. So we kind of have the same work to do anyway. So you know, that's good.
So I think the signals are not like, so like some signal seems clear. So like one is that there isn't enough of the atom holder community that, and they're like especially like key stakeholders like Dokia and Cosmos Station, the Korean community, the like big active components of the atom community that were opposed to some part of this proposal with sufficient that they wanted to veto it. So that's one component of it. I think the second component of it is, is the question of the treasury, right? And there seems to be like a lot of objection to the treasury as a concept, and maybe a lot of misunderstanding of the treasury as a concept is also, I think, a big part of the story. It's like the architecture of the system was also really complicated, and I think it's definitely reflective of the challenges of trying to build consensus across language boundaries and cultures when you're trying to explain a very complex idea and you don't have a language in common and time zones are
I just want to sort of like touch on that treasury thing just a bit, as well as the sort of interrelated thing, which is language. We've seen FTX collapse this week, and a lot of folks have mistrust of centralized entities. This is a huge part of the reason for what we've been building in Cosmos for a long time, is tools to empower decentralized communities. And I think that a lot of people looked at that treasury and they said, why are they trying to put a multi-sig in charge of the future of Cosmos development? And people, I think, thought, well, they're obviously trying to rug or trying to do something. And, that is a strong sentiment from the community that came through loud and clear in this discussion. And another thing is, I think that the nuances around the treasury, the language barrier piece is very apt. It's extremely difficult to translate nuance across multiple different languages and to do sort of like active feedback and iteration on plans when there's that language barrier. This is also something that we ran into with Juno Prop 16 and was a huge theme in my mind for Prop 16, was the language barrier and the difficulty of, in almost real time communicating across many different time zones and languages.
Prop 16 was, remind us, that's the whale?
That was the Juno whale, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Takumi also showed up in this proposal. A nice shout out to Takumi.
They came in no veto at the last minute. Yeah. I mean, I think a part of this was like a lot of the ideas in the paper and the treasury, they were sort of they only emerged when the paper came out, and so maybe more discussion of the independent pieces on the forum kind of in advance, and then it might have made it more palatable for them to kind of come together as a kind of unified as a unified vision. So hopefully these are things we can continue to discuss. I mean, now that it's out there, regardless, vetoed or not, we should get the discussion going on the specifics of a treasury system, why it might be necessary and what it would look like, and why it's still decentralized in a sense. Decentralized is just one word, but it means, there's a huge spectrum of possible things. And I mean, if your validator set is controlled by 7 exchanges, is that decentralized? I mean, I don't know if they can veto, or if they don't vote, or whatever, right? So, there's a lot of flexibility. There's a big spectrum on what decentralized means, and I think part of the idea of the treasury was to actually prove the sophistication of governance and its ability to fund development and oversee it and hold it accountable in a more granular way than the community pool is able to do on its own. But we'll have to that'll have to come in the future, I guess, and start with more. I mean, I like the idea of increasing the tax on the community pool. Is probably something we should have done a long time ago. So hopefully we can do that pretty soon now. And maybe we can get some folks to actually make some donations to the community pool too, and just get the funding level up there, and then start funding more development directly, and then based on that experience, maybe we can start pushing more for what's kind of required technically to improve the ability to oversee development and hold it accountable and so on. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting.
That was one piece that I did not ever really hear significant pushback on, is that Atom should have more funding to control its destiny. Mm-hmm. That was something that it did seem like there was strong agreement across the spectrum on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the question is where you get the funding from, right?
Yeah,
and minting is it's a pretty controversial thing. So
I mean, in my mind, like minting versus an inflationary tax, it's like, well, it's all minted atoms, so like, isn't that kind of the same thing? Yeah. Anyway, that's it seems like the community believes that minting is so double plus bad that we can't even talk about it. So I guess we'll have to go for the tax solution.
We can talk about it. We just might not be able to get a yes vote on it. We should definitely keep talking about it. I mean, minting is happening. Inflation is happening every block. Coins are minted. So it's a question of how many and the distribution of them and stuff like that. And I understand why a higher tax is certainly more palatable, because it's already kind of built in. It's already part of the system in a sense. And the current community tax is quite low. So having that increase kind of there's no new minting in that sense. It's just sort of a change in the distribution, right? Rather than going to stakers, it goes to the community pool. So yeah. So anyway, that'll be good to push through. Yeah.
I think to me, I think there are a couple of things. One is, so there are a bunch of things. One is Cosmos governance is just like out of practice, like Cosmos Hub governance. Like we see healthier, more active, more interactive governance on other chains, and Cosmos Hub governance has been like long a struggle, right? Like very small and limited issues being dealt with there, rather than really trying to do any significant guidance. Another thing I think a lot about, though, is, it's like the only thing that I think tangibly got accomplished, like two things tangibly got accomplished. One is like we surfaced a lot of like latent division, distrust, etc., between various parts of the Atom holder community that had been like there. So at least it's out in the open. And then the second thing is that like I really feel like we're going to get a better sense of what people's true preferences are by having proposals that like tangibly do something, like community spend proposals and signaling and like param change proposals, like for instance for the tax, than it is to like continuously try to battle it out over signaling proposals.
Over signaling, yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it seems there were a lot of people that voted yes, even though they didn't fully agree with everything in there or still had some concerns, and were just like, oh, it's just a signaling proposal, and so there's lots of opportunity to kind of follow up on those concerns. But overall directionally seems correct, and so supportive of working on this. And
I think there's a bigger question, and it's like the question is whether or not you believe Atom has a problem. Right? There is, and I do think that there are really a couple of different camps here, and it's still, I think, difficult to tease out from the way the votes whether or not who believes what about this. I firmly believe that the Cosmos Hub has a problem. That the Cosmos Hub, as like I think really laid out in the FAQ about the paper is that like, you know, that there is this very highly likely outcome of like where Atom is like just the thing that birthed the ecosystem and, you know, provides like a narrow set of functionality, and then but doesn't do a whole hell of a lot more beyond that. And like a lot of the excitement in the ecosystem is on other protocols and other things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you know, interchain security is supposed to really start to change that by creating a development environment around the Cosmos Hub for the first time, and the opportunity to actually build a growth engine, and you know, and other interesting things. And the question is, you know, whether and how successful interchain security will be with the current kind of state of governance on the hub, and the current sort of ability to fund and market those chains and bring them to market, and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, the thing is that hopefully interchain security will still launch, or the hub will still vote that in early next year.
I think that is frankly an area where I feel uncertainty now.
Yeah,
I would like reassurance.
Yeah.
From community.
Yeah, I would too, because we've, you know, Occlusion and Informal and Strangelove have spent a lot of time, money, and political capital going out and working with very high quality teams to try to bring them into the hub.
Yeah.
And essentially what we've heard from the community is that our leadership is in question. I think that is kind of like a meta comment on 82, is there's a lot of folks who are looking at the people on this call and they're saying, hey, we've got a lot of questions. We want you to move a lot slower. Yeah. And that is a strong signal, a very strong signal. But for us, we don't really know what to do with that. Does that block a lot of other work we're doing? Does that throw that into actual question? Does the hub want USDC on the chain? I think is maybe a very apt one. Which of these interchain secured chains are likely to see people oppose them? Do people want Lido on the hub? A lot of the same folks who voted no with veto for 82 have expressed extreme doubt about Lido on the hub. That's the first interchain secured chain likely to come up for a vote.
Neutron, but you know.
Neutron.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I mean, I you know, again, I don't take the fact that this went no with veto in the end as too much of a dint, because there's, you know, it's people saying, look, yeah, we want the hub to move slower, and, you know, we want there to be more deliberation, and that's fair enough. I mean, again, it was just a signaling proposal, so one way or another, nothing happens, like Zaki was saying, and I think the discussion and signal is the same regardless, whether it passes, given the vigor that we've seen in the community the last few weeks. But yeah, it will, you know, this will really be put to the test when votes go up, when proposals go up for something really concrete. That's like, hey, you know, are we going to vote on an upgrade for interchain security? Okay, that might be easy, but then, okay, this consumer chain wants to go live. You guys ready to run it? You know, that's when we're really that's when the hub will really get tested for real. It's hard. It's like you're saying, Jack. It's hard for us to know ahead of time, you know, how much effort to put into bringing consumer chains in, and, you know, and supporting them launching. Given you know, it's hard to get the right signal on that. And so that's a discussion that probably needs to continue, and we should be talking to, you know, especially the validators and folks that voted no with veto on their position, consumer chains, and, you know, what they'll be supporting. So that work is, you know, starting already, and so, you know, there's a few months until those proposals start coming up, but that'll be the real test for the hub. You know, our consumer chain, you know.
Ethan's terrible internet,
but
strikes again.
Oh man, yeah, I got censored. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some other things? Yeah. So I don't know. I think that this is I think the question of the sort of like I said, I think it'll become a lot more precise. But a lot of upfront work has to be done, which I think is going to change. Like, I think like part of the question is it's like if you have low confidence in governance, is a willingness, like then you want like more risk sharing, right, between the atom holders and like our organizations, right? We like in the run up to Atom 2.0, we took a lot of this risk on ourselves in terms of onboarding new chains, and I don't think that I think that is probably a tangible thing that we perceive as like, because it doesn't feel. I do feel like I think regardless that the like a lot of the sort of goodwill that we thought we were earning through this work doesn't feel like it was recognized by a lot of the large atom holders. It's certainly a real feeling.
Yeah. I think that's, my biggest takeaway from this is like, this group has done a lot of work to try to bring business to Atom in anticipation that we can do some of that work and that this is beneficial for Atom holders broadly, not just for, informal inclusion and Strangelove. And what a lot of folks are saying is like, you guys are pocketing all this money and taking over the hub. And in reality, that's just frankly not the case. Like, if you look at the other proposals, like, we haven't taken any Atom for those. Like, I did Prop 34 for free. we did Prop 72 without taking commission on it. Like, there's many things that we've done pro bono because we believe that Atom is a key tenet of the ecosystem, and we've been pushing things there to try to drive forward the entire cosmos. And a lot of the feedback that we're getting from the community is that there's a danger there that seems to be unspecified, and that is discouraging, frankly, and very tough.
I think one thing we should address is this idea of a fork, which has resurfaced in various ways. I don't know. I think there was a lot of conversation. I certainly will just speak for myself and say, don't really believe that forking the Cosmos Hub is a solution to any of these challenges.
No. Yeah. It's like, this is one of those topics that periodically comes up. There is no world in which a majority should use a fork. Like, there is a strong majority behind the changes and behind the idea that Atom needs to change if it is to compete. And the idea that a majority should fork off is farcical, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. I mean, you don't get a no with veto vote and then fork them out. I mean, that's not right.
No. Yeah. That's a good way to shoot yourself in the foot to spite your face.
No, I mean, if anything, you bring them in. I mean, I think that's what we want to do now is talk to folks that voted against it and with them and try to build consensus and stuff. So that's what it's all about. So it'll be interesting to do that work and see how we can get more folks involved in doing things to support the hub, support the ecosystem. So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of work to be done. We can't do it alone for sure. So the more we can bring folks in, the better.
I guess my one ask for community members is, all three of the folks on this call and folks at our organizations are actively reaching out to almost every validator. We want to talk to you. We want to figure out a way forward. We want to figure out what are the processes and procedures you guys want to see in place. How can we keep working on this project that we all care about? And I think that that's a key thing that we're very uncertain about right now.
Yeah. I think there is a distinct, so that I think that's a pretty accurate discussion on it. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Nothing top of mind. I guess what's next? We can there's a lot there was a lot of discussion generated around liquid staking risk. Zaki, I think he started a doc on staking mitigation. So it's good for people to take a look at that and keep those discussions going. And I guess next is maybe there'll be we should be working on a concrete proposal for increasing the community pool tax and maybe some ideas on what the first spends should be on to get the hub more involved in funding its own development and get move forward with some concrete things now. Put signaling proposals on hold for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea, like a lot of people have expressed a desire to have 5 signaling proposals related to all of this, so that we could, and I don't necessarily think that we're going to get that much out of it. Whereas I think, for instance, a proposal to change the inflation parameters or change the tax parameter would be particularly interesting to get what signal you get it, and community spends proposals for this, and these the question is, and potentially the hopeful thing is if the Cosmos community is actually interested in sustaining this level of government engagement, then I become a lot more hopeful about being able to have sort of fast feedback cycles. The downside of all of this stuff has been the slowness of the feedback cycle in general. That, for instance, we waited 3 weeks after Cosmoverse, and a lot of feedback didn't even come in until the proposal was up.
Proposal was live,
yeah. A lot of feedback didn't even come in until the proposal had been live for a week.
Yeah.
So just I think CryptoCito is doing a good job of keeping us focused on positive things. So thank you, CryptoCito. We really appreciate you. He asks, just joined, so not sure if you guys talked about Game of Chains already. An update on the state of ICS would be cool, and whether January is still on track. I'll let Bucky speak to this, but we've been working closely with the ICS team. Not only is Game of Chains rocking, we're seeing all of the different chains that we've worked on, working with for ICS, included in Game of Chains, which is incredible. To watch these things actually go live is amazing. The Game of Chains team, led by Yelena and the Informal Engineering team, has done an amazing job, and that is rolling along nicely. And I will say, I have worked in Cosmos now for a really long time, and one of the things that I've always said is, whatever date you tell me, I'm going to add a month to it, and then I'll believe it. But it does look like Interchain Security is on track for a January launch, which, credit to the Informal team for accurately timing this one out. It seems like everything is moving forward really nicely. Good job, Bucky.
Yeah, I think that's right. We might even launch early and launch during Christmas. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
That's supposed to have upgrade.
From what I know, I mean, January seems to be on track. So everything's moving forward really well. Lots of folks looking at the code and playing with it. So it's great. It's great to see. So yeah.
Awesome. Another question from Peaky Blinders: standalone proposal to increase the community tax. Zaki, do you want to talk about that, or Bucky, you want to talk about that?
I mean, I just put a draft up just so people, because how to do param change proposals is frequently something of a mystery, and so I just put a draft up and threw it in the governance Telegram, and it's on my GitHub of what the proposal needs to look like what the correct subspaces and fields have to be to put that up.
Don't we have a guide in the Gaia repo or something? Is that not
there's actually the docs are actually pretty decent for doing this, but it's still it's every time I do one of them I'm like, okay, and there's all kinds of incongruity, like the capitalizations are inconsistent between different levels of the parameters and stuff.
You need a command that'll just generate the thing for you, and then you can edit it or something. Lucky, will you release it? Yeah, so I don't know. Will Community Pool fund a rap album for Tanuki? So
oh, Bucky, if you want to really see some pushback, that's funny. The one note on the parameter change proposals, the capitalization and punctuation for the different modules and their variable names is entirely different. Some of them are snake case, some of them are camel case, some of them are different types of camel case, and some of them are just all lowercase, all smushed together. And whatever
there is a
you're
guide
doing,
though that looks
there is a guide,
Yeah.
and whenever you're doing one that touches a couple of modules, you will see this vividly. And I think the proposal Zaki put together has this in it, which just always gives me giggles.
Yeah. There's a and like like I said, there's a lot of work to be done on the Cosmos ecosystem, on IBC, on other Cosmos chains, and I think that there is a in no way, shape, or form, in my mind, does the success or failure of Atom 2.0 change my point of view that Cosmos is the best architecture for building like the future of blockchains.
Yeah. So I think that, that's another thing that has not gotten discussed at all in this proposal is the model that we have championed as the hub has won. All of our competition that was propped up by easy money and scams has all kind of fallen apart. And the biggest ecosystem that's left is us. We have an incredible opportunity as the Cosmos ecosystem to grab this and to really win the blockchain scaling wars. And when the next cycle comes around, we will be ready. And, that's what Strangelove is working strongly on. That's what Informal is working strongly on. That's what Inclusion is working strongly on. And that does not change at all.
Awesome. That says they fixed it. Yeah, right. New message-based governance. Right. That's cool. So so governance is gonna, in the new versions of the SDK, governance is gonna be able to actually send messages. So that'll be pretty awesome. Yeah.
Anything else we want to talk about?
Fork.
I'm good.
Just not. I mean, we could answer some of these questions.
Sure.
What we were saying earlier was that the response to a no with veto by a minority should not be to fork them out. I mean, that just doesn't seem like the right. I mean, obviously anyone can propose a fork at any time. It's all open source software, but
Yeah, I mean, in the sense of a new distribution that is based on the Atom distribution with changes is always everyone's right to the ecosystem to create and choose to promote and choose, and there's there's two kinds of, it's like, one is I'm trying to fork and I'm trying to carry the chain state and the brand with me. And I don't think that is the right outcome to any of these votes. But I'm it's I don't necessarily feel like I can be in consensus with everyone who holds Atom, and I want a new asset that represents a new social consensus as everyone's right to create, to participate in. That is the Cosmos way. And this is one of the reasons why, I will just say it's a lot of people have asked, why is it that you think you need a treasury in order to create a business model for the hub? And well, it's if you want to preserve this value of, hey, the only way to is it's all built out of software that anyone can spin up a new social consensus on, then you need to have your plausible set of business models become relatively constrained, and the whole idea of the allocator and the scheduler were to come up with something that works within that constraint.
I see one question here that I don't think this group has an answer to, but is interesting and sort of broadly speaks to the decentralization within the community. Need to get Minscan, Kepler, and Cosmos Station voting percentages on the same page. Can we do that? All three were showing different voting percentages.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is because the votes don't actually tally until the end, right? So you have to track it during, and if delegations change and stuff, it's not totally trivial to keep track of what the actual ongoing vote tally is. So maybe there's something we could do in the software to address that. But I was going to say someone should make a fork called No with Veto Chain, where all governance proposals can only be no with veto, and then someone can make another one called Yes Chain, where all governance proposals can only be voted yes. And then...
Well, what I really want to see is we did not implement the whole original Cosmos white paper. We're missing a key piece, and it's yay with force.
Yay with force, yeah. Right.
Only thing we didn't implement from the OG white paper is yay with force.
I think there were a few things. There's precedent for not implementing everything that's in the white paper.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was in the white paper that we tried in testnets, and we're like, this is a terrible idea. Like, we had slashing for not voting in governance, and we put it in the testnet, and like everybody wrote auto abstain bots, and we were like, okay, we should not ship this. This is a terrible idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
but actually, I mean, actually that would have been interesting, because right now we have the situation where a lot of validators just don't vote, and even having them abstain might be better than that. So interesting. Yeah.
All right. Well, we will be online.
Abstain.
We hear you. Abstain chain. I feel like there's a good pun there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. All right. Well, it was good chatting. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we'll keep building. Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.